Okay, Jayna, I
So,
know who you are because I've been stalking you ever since you did Mona's wedding. I think that was the first time that I heard about you. And then after following you on Instagram, I'm like, how have I never heard about this girl before? But you are so freaking hilarious. You're so talented. You're so down to earth. I absolutely adore you. So I'm super excited to chat today. Let's kind of go back to the beginning and tell them who you are, how you got started in hair and makeup, and kind of where all that starts from.
well, I have been doing makeup. I feel like it's the only thing I'm really good at. So it's what I've been doing since I was like literally really little. Um, when I first got into makeup, I had no idea what I would do, that it was even a job option. I had no idea. I just knew that I loved it. I was actually in university. I thought I wanted to either be a teacher or a sex therapist. And
That makes a lot
and
of
I
sense.
yeah. When you know what the stuff that I talk about, when you follow me on social media, like, oh, it's all, I'm literally still doing all the things, just not professionally. I'm doing it all for free. So, anyways, what happened was when I was in university, I was like always kind of like in class, looking at the girls and being like, oh, I wish I could, she'd look really good with her makeup like this, or she'd look, and so I started like bringing girls back to my house to do before and afters on them. So I was just glamming people all the time, and I had no training or anything. I just loved doing makeup. And then I even hired someone to teach me a private lesson so that I would know something about doing hair, because I thought that would make my before and afters even better. And eventually I was so wrapped up in all this makeup and hair stuff, my ex was like, you really like this, like, why don't you do this for work? And I was like, because this isn't work, this is fun. and and then I got all like, it got in my head, and so I started looking online, and I found that there were makeup schools. I didn't even know that this was, of course, now there's, everybody's a makeup artist and it's all over everywhere on social media. But when I wanted to be a makeup artist, this was a long time ago. People were not, nobody was makeup artists. Like there was Kevin Aquan, like there was like the really big, like Bobby Brown, there was like famous celebrity makeup artists. And then there was like people who worked at the mall.
How long ago are we
So,
talking?
well, I was, oh gosh, well, I'm 37 now, and I was like 21. So it's a long time ago.
17,
Like
18 years.
yeah. Oh my
Okay.
gosh, I'm feeling so old now. So yeah, so I researched makeup schools, and there was a school that I realized I thought I really wanted to go to, but it was in another city, like 5 hours away. And I had just bought my grandma's house. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I think I need to go to this school. And he was like, well, if you're going to go there, then we need to sell this house. And I was devastated because I was like, I have to give up literally everything to do this. I had to sell this house. I had to move cities. I had to leave my family. I had to drop out of university. There was so much I had to do, but I was like, I don't know. I need to do makeup. I just need to be doing this.
And
So
at
when I
this
went,
point, were you still in school, like you were still in university for sex therapy? And
yeah,
were
yeah,
you taking any bridals or any clients, or were you still doing it just for fun?
I had like I'd done my sister's wedding, and I had done a wedding for a girl who like found me through someone I made over in university, but like I had to use her own makeup, or
Yeah.
I think I bought all brand new makeup just for her. Like it was just costing me money, but I just loved doing it. So anyways, I when I went to the school, Blanche McDonald, I went, and you know, you have your interview with the director, and they said, what do you want to do in makeup? And I didn't even know what I could do. So I just said, I don't know, maybe I want to work at Mac, because in the town that I'm from, Kelowna, that was like kind of the place where like the cool kids were playing with makeup. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I want to work at Mac. And she said, well, you're lucky, because here in Vancouver, this much bigger city, we have like 8 Macs here. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh, for sure I'll get to work at Mac. So I went to school, and I just started, like, because I'd given up so much to be there, and my family was devastated that I was dropping out of university and stuff. I had something to prove. So like even while I was in makeup school, I think I did 13 weddings. And then like the next year, like I was on Craigslist, I was hustling. And and yeah, by the time I was done, I remember one of my exams, one of my hair exams in makeup school, because it was like 2 weeks of hair. My hair exam was a bridal trial. Like I brought a bride in. I needed a model. 'Cause I didn't, yeah, like I remember I didn't get that good of a mark on the exam because I was busy trying to like make her happy, but I didn't care because I was like, I got the wedding, so I don't really care about what the mark is in this class. But yeah, so I've been just like moving and shaking ever since. And so now I do like, I don't know, I'm at easily 200 weddings a year. I have a team of girls who work for me. assisting, and they take the bookings that I can't do. And now, like, I've been blessed that I've been flown around the world. It's funny because I never worked at MAC. I worked for other brands. I worked for like Estee Lauder, Lancome, Benefit Cosmetics, Bobbi Brown. I worked for all of them, but I never worked for MAC.
Did you ever apply?
One time I applied. This is so funny. One time I applied, and I didn't get the job. I think the manager was really quite intimidated by me. She said, "What's the coolest thing you've done in your makeup career?" And I said, "Hair and makeup for Lady Gaga." And she was like, "Oh, okay." and and then I found out that one of my assistants, who was still in makeup school, got the job and I didn't. So it was kind of one of those things where it was like, yeah, they weren't looking necessarily for someone who would maybe want to take over the whole store. So I didn't get the job. I ended up being a reference for the girl who got the job. It was so funny. I was just never meant to work at MAC. But yeah, so I feel like my dreams were so little, but my ambition, like my work ethic was so big, you know? So anyways, and I got into it with good intentions. Like now, as you know, like a lot of makeup artists get into it because they think they can make like so much money. And I got into it literally thinking I'm going to be so broke compared to what I'd be making if I stayed in university, but I just have to do this.
Yeah, it's something that you really wanted to do and you felt like a calling to do as well.
I just had to, yeah.
So were you solo for a while and then you decided to build out a team?
Yeah, so I was solo for a very, very, very long time. And then I ended up at a booking one day, and it started off because I was getting bookings where it was like, I was like a lot of Caucasian weddings, and it was like a lot of brides plus 6 bridesmaids. And I would do everyone by myself. And I was just getting so exhausted, hair and makeup, and my back's killing me and my shoulders are killing me. And I was like, if I brought someone to come with me, this would be a lot less painful. And so I started like hiring girls to come in. And one of the girls that I ended up hiring, her name was Ricky. She's still with me. It's been like 12 years, I think we've been working together. So I've been very blessed that I found some really cool people. But yeah, I started building up the team once I realized like I just can't do this all myself.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's 6 people plus the bride, hair, and makeup. How long did that take you? Or like how long would something like that take you? And would you still take a booking like that by yourself?
Well, back then, what was expected of a makeup artist and the makeups that we were doing were so much less. Like no one was trying to get a whole new nose from a makeup artist back then.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So now it's like, I mean, then I could do 3 bridesmaids makeups in like an hour. I could do 20 minutes of face, slap some lashes on you, some foundation, you know, like it's really quick when you know what you're doing and you just get in that mode. But now, like, the expectations are just so different that, like, you're not doing 20-minute makeups anymore. And if you are, nobody wants to pay for them.
Everybody wants bridal now.
Yes, exactly.
And then was your step into having a team pretty smooth? Did you run into any hiccups? Is there anything that you kind of wish that you knew when you started building out a team?
Okay. This is like almost like a super, I don't want to say touchy subject for me right now, but there have been some lessons. I mean, no, it's okay. But like having a business is just a constant state of learning, right? And I think that probably one of the mistakes I made or advice that I would give to somebody who's trying to start a team is, of course, be very careful, of course, who you choose and make sure that their values align with yours. But also be very careful when you're making team members your friends. If you're going to have a team and you're going to be the boss lady, you need to stay the boss lady. And I mean, there's like Ricky, she's like my ride or die. Like that girl, she knows everything about my life and everything. But I had a bit of a habit of not knowing that like you probably shouldn't bring people completely into your life and just like, I'm the kind of person like I'm going to be a counselor till the day I die inside. You know what I mean? Like I want to fix everybody's problem, I want to help them, I want to do all the things. And it can end up really biting you in the butt sometimes. So that was a lesson I learned.
So like, don't get too close. Don't let them in on every, like the 100% of your life kind of thing.
Yeah. And like boss status has to stay boss status kind of like, you know, like if there has to be a slight difference because sometimes people get into this kind of vibe where they're like, if you let them, people will join your team because they're like, oh my gosh, like who's this crazy, amazing, popular makeup artist? And then the more you let them into your life, the more they realize, she's just some regular bitch like me. And then
normal.
and I am, but you know, so then it starts to be like, well, I could be doing what she's doing. Like I don't, you know, and then there almost starts to be resentment. It's happened more often than not, and it's also happened to other makeup artist friends that I know. So it's not just like it's just not just a me thing, but yeah.
I've seen that a lot, and it's happened to me personally, but I still haven't completely figured out where to draw the line because like I want to be friends with everybody, right? I absolutely adore everybody, and I'm just open and I'm out there, and I feel like if I put myself at 100%, they'll put up their self 100%, but it
Yep.
doesn't really work like that. So you gotta
Yep.
find
And a
that.
couple times I've been burned where I'm like, I thought we were like, I didn't realize you were actually against me behind my back. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you really don't really know. It's like the difference, like a perfect example is it's the difference between, let's say you do a booking, and you need to stay overnight at a hotel. It's the difference between going, okay, we're staying overnight at a hotel, girls' night, and everyone piles into the same bed, and it's like a sleepover party versus, okay, my team gets a room and I get a room.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's slightly different. Like there's like a little bit of like a disconnection. Like and I've never done that, but it's like that's kind of like how I imagine it if I were to like fully go like
That's a
full boss
great
lady mode.
example.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
it's like no, like the team gets a room, but I have my own room because I'm the boss. I'm not gonna have a sleepover party with my team.
maybe like
So
10 years ago at the beginning, but
yeah, and I found honestly that the people on my team who've like been there, like they're still there. I mean, except for Ricky, she's just always gonna be like my bestie. But lots of the people who have lasted the longest on my team are the ones who they are the ones that like just come to work and like we have the best time ever when we work and we laugh and we have a great time. But at the end, it's like okay, bye. They're not the people that you're like, okay, so this is what my boyfriend did today, or like like there's a line that gets crossed where it's like personal versus business.
now is there a good way of figuring out those people when you're first hiring them, or is it just trial and error?
I think a really big thing is not ignoring the red flags. Like, at first you can be so excited that maybe you found someone on your team. Like, let's say sometimes in a business, you're almost in a state of desperation where you're like, I really need people. Like, I really need help. So let's just bring these people in. And sometimes I find that it's like any relationship. You'll notice a red flag and maybe your desperation for a team or desperation for the help makes you like kind of overlook it or ignore it. But really, it's like you've got to really pay attention. Like, for example, if I do a booking and I hear, for example, one time I had a client ask one of my team members, oh, that's a beautiful palette. Where did you get it? And the team member said, oh, it's from Bobbi Brown. And me and all the other girls on the team knew that palette was definitely not from Bobbi Brown. It was like one of
Oh
those cheapo ones with like
no.
100 colors in it. And so
Yeah.
all of us were like, that's weird. She lied about that. And in my mind, in that moment, I should have been like, this is a person who lies. Like, this is a person who's not honest for like absolutely no reason at all. That's an indicator of the kind of personality that person has. But I go, oh, well, like I don't want to be judgy because I never want to be judgy. But, a couple months down the road, I got lied to. And then someone else got lied to. And then there was a car accident. There was a fake car accident. You know what I mean? There's like,
Oh,
it's like, I should have known right away and been like, we're not really looking for someone who doesn't tell the truth.
that sucks. Yeah, so red flags are super, super important for that then. Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go back into the artistry side of things. Do you have a preference over hair or makeup? Or do you love them both the same? Or
Okay.
next question.
I feel like you're asking the big questions. I actually get asked that a lot. And I think that honestly, makeup comes so easily to me. I just turn my brain off and it just happens. Like I let the person's face and their personal taste and their wardrobe and everything just kind of dictate. It's almost like my hands just move themselves. Hair is, I love it because it's a challenge where everyone wants something that they shouldn't be able to have with their hair. So it's like, someone with super fine short hair wants these long, beautiful Hollywood waves. And someone, or someone with, really, really thick, heavy hair wants this cute little, barely there bun or something. So there's always like a unique challenge when it comes to hair. So I feel like I love the challenge part of it. Also, what I like about hair is that you're behind the person. So you're not all in their face. It's not so personal. It's almost like a personality break because you can
Okay.
like stand behind them and just be slightly more removed, where when you're in someone's face you have to be so engaging and so much more like I've before leaned on the wall behind me when I'm doing hair and like napped for 15 seconds, you know what I mean, like on those really long days. But hair is so much harder on your body, like your shoulders hurt, your back hurts, so I think I would say I prefer the art of makeup and the transformative power of makeup, but I prefer the challenge of hair.
I get that, but I feel like hair is still like I do it, and I guess I do it well enough because people still hire me to do it again. But like it gives me anxiety every time I'm freaking doing hair. Like there's always something that you need to figure out, versus makeup, I just feel like it comes so naturally and it comes so easy.
I totally understand that, but the thing with makeup nowadays to me is that everyone is their own makeup artist. Like, people are so savvy now. So makeup might, if I was going to say one to give me anxiety, would be makeup, because when I'm doing someone's makeup, I'm thinking, can they do this better? Is this how they do it? Are they going to like this? Whereas hair, I know that you can't put your hair in the kind of bun I'm going to do it in. You know, so like there's that confidence of like, I know that whatever I'm going to do to hair is not going to be something that you know how to do. So that's like a different way of looking at it, I guess.
Oddly enough, a lot of my brides last year were bringing in selfies of themselves, and they're like, I want something like this, but a little bit more. So it was just a
Yeah.
matter of adding in like nicer lashes, nicer glow, like a little bit more of a flawless base. And I found it really easy rather than having to like come up with ideas myself. It's like, this is my selfie. This is what I usually like look like. I want it like this, but like more. Like, okay, I
My
could do that.
my all-time favorite is when someone brings a photo from like a wedding that they were in before, and they're like, I really loved when this makeup artist did this to me, and you look at it and it's some shit makeup and you're like, oh, if you like that, you're gonna love what I'm about to do. Like, oh, you loved that? Okay, just hang on to your socks, sweetheart, because it's about you.
Is there anything that you're still working on when it comes to your artistry? Like, is there something that you still kind of struggle with or you want to perfect just a tiny bit more?
For me, I am learning about like exploring products, because I get pretty like stuck in like my favorite things, and I'm like, why do I need to look for a new foundation formula? I already like this. Or so I'd say products, like becoming more like open to that. Even like tools, hairstyling tools, like there, I've, now that we're on this quarantine time, I'm doing so much more research. I'm like, oh, I didn't know there were curling irons that twisted themselves. Like I just really stay in my own world. I'm not like one of those people who watches a bunch of YouTubes. So like opening myself up to that. And also, I've been doing a lot of hairstyle tutorials lately, not necessarily just to learn different styles like I haven't been doing or that I'm not like really well known for, just like expanding my repertoire, I guess.
Well, the opposite side of that is when you start watching so many tutorials that other people are doing, it kind of like throws you off your own lane as well. And sometimes it can stress you out, and sometimes you start hoarding products because you think you need absolutely everything, and you almost forget what actually did work for you. And you have this kit that's just oversized, filled with so much stuff that you're barely even touching anymore.
Yep, 100%. And even just lugging your shit every time you have a booking, it's like my kit is full. So like when I think about bringing makeup in, I'm like, oh, I don't even really have room for it in my kit, like physically. Do I want to carry this around, and do I need it, or is it just going to confuse me when I'm trying to do makeup? So it's that it requires a lot of research before I'll put a new product in my kit. But just a matter of doing that research in general is like new for me.
I remember seeing I think it was an Instagram live or a snap or something of you, and you were carrying both your hair kit and your makeup kit up like a really big flight of stairs. And I was just like, how is this girl doing this? Why is she taking this in one strip? And like, how come she's not tripping down the stairs right now? Like, how do you do it? Have you
And I was
downsized your
probably
kit?
in heels.
So like,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just one of those like, let's just get her done kind of people. I'm like, that I'll have my purse is a backpack, my hair bag is a backpack, then I've got my chair, I've got my light and my giant makeup kit, and I will be like, I got this all in one trip. My only thing is don't fall and don't dent the walls. That's
I'm
all.
always
That's all.
worried about hitting walls, especially with the big chair. Like, are you walking with your chair as well?
Yep.
I
Yeah.
cannot, like, as soon as I'm turning and I'm just, it lightly tips the wall, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That,
Yep.
that is
Exactly.
the absolute worst. Um, I know you work out a lot. I think that really helps with your energy levels and your personality and having the energy to take all of this stuff up the stairs. Have you always been into fitness? Like, is that something that's always been a part of your life? Did it come in later?
So my mom was a fitness instructor when I was little, and my mom also ran marathons. She's like little Miss Fit face. Like she literally will train like 8 times a week. She's like she'll drink until 2 in the morning and wake up at 6 to go for a jog. Like she's like
Crazy.
pretty dedicated. Yeah. And my grandma's like 89 years old. Every single day she swims, rides her bike, and runs. So like it just runs in my family. My grandpa, until the day he passed away, he was like skiing. He was trying to ski 150 days out of the year. So like I just come from a very active family. I haven't always been really active. There was a while there where I would say I lost myself, and I had to kind of like come back to me. And then I just started I started making working out a priority. And I found like a place that I loved working out, and I found a place that I love to feel like about myself. And I just kind of have like stuck with that and rolled with it. And I feel like what we do requires a different level of confidence, and not just to be on camera or to, you know, to like do things, you know, in front of other people, but confidence to be able to pass that confidence along to our clients. Like if I'm coming from a place of self-confidence, then I can like pass that on to other people. And I would feel like a little bit of like two-faced or like a bit dishonest if I was trying to hype people up, but I felt bad about myself. And so I just try to make myself feel as good as I want my clients to feel, if that makes any sort of sense.
That's so good. And confidence is the entire game. Like more than the makeup, it's the confidence that somebody gets when they put on the makeup and they feel like the best version of themselves. So being able to do
Yeah.
that and doing that from an authentic place is incredible.
Like I've had girls like sit down in my chair. They'll get a little bit overwhelmed that they're meeting me. I don't even know why, because maybe they've been watching me or whatever. This girl just like bursts out in tears, and she's like, I feel so embarrassed sitting in front of you right now because I've gained weight and I'm not excited about getting married because I don't think I'm gonna look good in my dress, and just full like meltdown tears and everything. And I was like, you got to stop this right now, because as soon as you see yourself in makeup and hair, you're gonna change all this. Like this is all, you know, it's like it's gonna change completely. And it does. Like all of a sudden you see a girl, she's like fingers in her hair, she's like posing differently, and you could just tell. And even I found that somebody's self-confidence will begin to change before they've even seen themselves in the mirror. Like even just that I'm putting that attention into them, even that I'm just loving on them and talking them up the whole time I'm doing their hair and makeup, you can tell that they're already feeling better and they haven't even seen the makeup and hair yet. You could just feel it. Their energy changes.
And then how do you deal with like unrealistic expectations from a bride or a client? Like how do you handle that?
I am like insanely honest, like to a fault. And so I will just say like, you know, let's take a look. Like, let's say for example, someone shows me a photo and they're like, I want this. And I'll be like, okay, well, just so you know that like this photo was definitely face tuned. They had perfect lighting, you know, whatever. This girl has a very different shaped eye than you, but I'll do something along these lines with this same like concept that suits your face better. And it'll be like, oh, okay. So they know like I'm on your team. I know what kind of look you want, but these are the things that are going to be different. So I just really spell it out so that half the time they're pleasantly surprised later. I'm all about like lower the expectations so that they can be easily met instead of like, yeah. And I think that's part of the scary thing of social media now is that people come to you already with like the highest expectations. They get in my chair like, oh my God, I cannot wait to have my makeup done by Jayna I. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. You might not like Whereas like a long time ago, all you had was a website. They had no idea what you looked like. They had no idea besides that they liked a few pictures on your site. And they want a trial because they're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to like your work on me, so I'm here for a trial.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I just wanted to meet you. I can't wait. You know, it's totally different. It's totally, totally different.
So you're teaching now.
I've always been teaching. So I actually, so I taught at the school that I graduated from I started teaching there in 2015. And so I taught at Blanche McDonald. I actually wrote part of the curriculum for them. I wrote the bridal curriculum for them. So I've always been teaching. I'm really bad at just like saying what I've been, like, I'm really bad at like,
hyping yourself up.
Yes, super bad at it. Like I'll be like, guys, I'm doing a master class, but I won't be like, yo, I know what's up. I used to teach at Blanche McDonald, blah, blah, blah. I just don't do that. I'm like, if you want to come, yeah, you know, so I have to get better at that.
Okay, so because you're teaching and you're such a great teacher, I'm going to give you the two questions that I get from mostly everybody. And I feel like this is when I put up questions, this is the two questions that usually come up. Okay. Is under eye creasing. How do you fix this? Like it doesn't matter if you pat it in with the finger, like you're still getting the creases there. How are you handling that? And how are you handling that with your client?
Under eye creasing, well, I feel like everyone gets it for different, like most people get it for all different reasons. Sometimes there's a lot of lines under the eye. Sometimes it's like me, like I have giant cheeks. So when I smile, everything, you know, just from expression. But I find that two of the things that help prevent it are smaller amounts of product. I feel like right now there's just this whole giant trend towards like all the concealer everywhere layered on top of layers. And of course it's going to crease when you've got a freaking centimeter full of concealer under your eyes. So very strategic use of the product. Also, because I can imagine you're putting a color corrector, you're putting concealer, and you're baking. That's like so much product sitting on the skin. So I'm very, very, very careful with my powdering. So careful use of product and very minimal powdering. So I don't bake under the eyes a lot. I like just do like a really, really like light dusting with like a fluffy brush, and then gradually add more if I need it. So I'm like I always start with a little bit and creep up to more, as opposed to doing a lot and then like trying to dial it back.
So don't start with the Tarte Shape Tape. Don't cake that
You
on.
do it like I posted with an IGTV video a little while ago about this, where people always go in with like the Shape Tape, for example, and they draw like a giant, they fill in like this giant triangle of concealer, and like if you have a perfectly smooth face and you're not worried about creasing, then like go for it, like put all the makeup on. But my personal style, I feel like a lot of people know me for like being like a less makeup, kind of almost like a glowier look. So I prefer to like take dots of the Shape Tape and put it down the side of each side of your nose. And then I use a beauty blender to blend it out to a triangle size shape, to that same shape, but you don't need to actually put all that product to make that shape. You blend it out to that shape, if that makes sense. So it's just using like 1/3 of the amount of product.
And still getting the same shape.
Yeah, and then adding maybe more if you need it, but not necessarily going in with like a trowel and just like, because so many people we're doing makeup on are beautiful and they have beautiful skin. They just need a little bit of like coverage. They don't need like a whole new face. I just recently watched makeup review of a new foundation, and this girl was like, this foundation, blah blah blah, and she puts it all over her face with a beauty blender. Then she goes in with her Shape Tape, and her foundation was way dark, right? Like way, way, way dark. And I was like, oh, she looks like she's like all beachy tropical. She went in with this light Shape Tape, and I was like, I can't even see the color of the foundation anymore because her whole face was Shape Tape. Like, so because she goes, it's okay that this foundation doesn't really match that well. And I was like, no, clearly not, because this Shape Tape.
I feel like that's the line on every tutorial, though. They start off with the foundation, like, it doesn't matter if it doesn't match, because they're going to go in with something else afterward.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, the foundation is more than enough coverage for 80% of your face. You don't need, like, anyways, that's just everyone has a different approach, and I'm not judging how anybody else does it. That's just me.
And then the second question that I get a lot of is, ever since Inglot changed the number 77 formula, I feel like people are saying that it's not staying as well as it used to. Like, even if they're mixing it in with the Duraline, that it's still getting like a little bit of a smudginess to it, or a little bit under the eye area. Have you found anything to fix this yet?
I've never used the Inglot liner that you're talking about, so that's not a problem that I've been, like I told you, I'm not, so my theory when I teach makeup, when I talk about makeup, is like same shit, different package. Like, I'm literally like, I'm not a makeup product junkie where I'm like, this brand, this product. In my opinion, if you're a really good makeup artist, you should be able to create beautiful, flawless makeups with whichever products you're given. It's more about the color selection, where you use it, and how you use it. So I'm just not that person that's like, when someone's like, what is that? Whatever you use. I'm like, I don't freaking know. It's the soft pink. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just not really attached to like brands and whatever. So honestly, I've never used this Inglot eyeliner that you speak of. My favorite like gel, is it a gel liner?
It's a gel, yeah, it's a gel liner in a gel pot.
Okay, so my favorite like gel liner in a gel pot is a Maybelline. It's like, it not only is it like not only does it show up nice and pigmented, and I love like just it glides on really nice with the right angle brush, but also it never dries out. I've always get right to the very bottom of it. I can scrape the very bottom of it out, and it doesn't get all that crusty. Never dries out. So I'm pretty loyal to that one, and it's like one of the very few drugstore brand products that I have like in my kit always. But I don't know why, I just love it. Maybe I'll seek out this Inglot eyeliner that you
don't do it. If it works for you, do not change it. Like, you have a wheel that works for you, so just keep on rolling with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I get asked that a lot too, and I think that sometimes it's like, I'll be like, okay, if I'm using a gel liner, I press a powder into it to set it. Like, I just think of it as a product with a pigment, not necessarily a brand, and if that makes sense.
It's a good way of looking at it. It'll save you a lot of money down the road. Like, don't fall into the hype of product.
Hey, I'm still buying hella shit. I'm still spending hella money on makeup.
Yeah.
So, everyone always says to me like, oh, you must love buying makeup. I'm like, no, I love doing makeup. I don't love spending money on it.
It's an expensive habit. It's a very
but hey, at least
habit,
that's how we make our living.
So much fun. It's so
Yes.
much fun.
At least we have the excuse because it's how we make our living. So
Yes, expense everything.
yes.
Is there a certain product that you can't live without with right now? Like, is there something that you absolutely love? I know. If you had to, okay, so let's say this. Let's say
Uh-huh.
that your whole kit was gone and you had to pick only one item that you could have back, whether it's like a line of foundations or a certain color or anything. If you, it's like one product and the whole rest of your kit, you had to rebuild with other items.
I really, for a while, MAC was out of the Pro Conceal palettes.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were sold out everywhere, and that was affecting me on a spiritual level. So I feel like it might be that. I felt like it kind of shook me to the core. I was like, now what? Like, do I have to quit? Do I have to pack up shop? So I really, really, really like the Pro Conceal palettes. They're just so great. Like they always have like 2 color correctors on the bottom and the 4 kind of more foundation colors on the top. And I love them for. I use them for an all over foundation, blended in really lightly, or a full conceal. Like I just love how workable they are and the finish that they have on the skin. So I'd probably say that.
The Pro Conceals. That's a good one.
I'm very like skin, like everything that I care about is very skin focused.
And you do skin first, right? Like you're focused on the skin
I
first and then
do.
you go into
I've
the eyes.
never once my whole career done eyes first.
Have you tried it?
Look at your face. You're like, what?
I'm looking like that because I keep flip flopping. Like I'll go through phases where like years I'll do eyes first and then I'll go into skin, or then I'll have like a focus on skin, so I'll do skin first and then go into eyes. But I'm just like, wait, you've never tried the other way? I'm like, ever?
No. I think it's because the way I look at it is that we want when somebody looks at us or when someone looks at our clients to have their eyes go from our smile to our eyes, from our smile to our eyes. It's a little triangle, right? And I feel like, when you have like a gap in your eyebrows or a pimple on your chin or dark circles, that's distractions. So now we're not focused on the eyes and the smile. We have all these distractions. So when I start with skin, I'm getting rid of all the distractions. And so the eyes stand out just naturally because there's none of those distractions. So I do the skin, I get this beautiful flawless canvas, I fill in the brows, and I'm like, okay. And what I find is that when you do the skin first, then you don't need to do nearly as much to make the eyes stand out. So when you don't have anything on the skin and you start like eyes, you're trying to make them stand out, but you've got all this other stuff going on. And I just feel like when the skin is done first, you're like, oh, look, your eyes already stand out because we don't have any of these other distractions. And then I can focus on the color of the eyes and enhancing them and working with the shape that goes with the brows that I've created. And so that's kind of like how my mind works. And I think that's how I end up somehow like not always doing like so much makeup.
It saves you a lot more time down the road too, right? Because everything looks finished a little bit faster.
Yeah. And everyone always talks about fallout. I'm like, I don't know why I don't ever get fallout. Maybe it's the way I apply, but I do like a lot of pressing. Like all my eyeshadows, I'm pressing it in, I'm patting it in, and I'm putting it only exactly where I want it. I don't do very much wiping motions at all. And I find a wiping motion is what flicks product off the side of the brush. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it is, but yeah, I just haven't really had that problem.
I remember one issue I was having when I was doing skin first and when I go in to do the eyes and the eyebrows is that even after I do the face and I set it with powder, I would sometimes get fingerprints in the skin still. So what was I doing incorrectly there? Do you have any idea on how you can prevent from getting like that little bit of a fingerprint?
Like a press kind
Yeah.
of. I don't know. I'm really, really, really like gentle. Like if I'm touching, it's like a very, very, very soft, gentle. You can also sometimes I'll put a little sponge on my pinky finger so that when it rests my hand on the face, it's a sponge and not my actual hand. And that works like really, really well. Yeah, but I do know what you mean, and I'm always like, beauty blender to the rescue.
I've seen a lot of people use little sponges in videos and tutorials. Like they have like the little round puff that has almost like a ribbon on the back of it.
Yes.
I always thought that was neat. I remember trying. I haven't tried it long enough. I tried it like once or twice, and I kept switching it from finger to finger depending on how I was positioning my hands. I'm like, this is ridiculous, but
Yeah.
I need to definitely try again. Do you have any favorite bridal colors, or like do you find that the brides keep going back to a certain 2 or 3, or is it very wide range
Bridal
for you?
colors meaning like what,
Bridal
or eye
lipsticks.
Oh, lipsticks. Oh my goodness. I don't know, like I find that if they tend to like, I find that a lot of people watch my social media and they'll be like, I like that nude you always wear, or I like that whatever, because that's like what they like, they're hiring you because they like your look lots of times,
Yeah.
you know. But I find too that a lot of them don't request, they just trust me. So I think that that's like a big difference that happens once you get a little bit more experience and people start paying, like when they're paying attention to your work. Like before it used to be that like I said, like they didn't know what you're doing, but now a bride will sit in your chair and they'll even know the names of my past clients. They'll be like, well, I like what you did for Harneet, and I'm like, what did I do for Harneet? You know, so they trust like whatever the looks are that I'm creating. So like for example, one color that I really love using is, of course, I'm always talking about how obsessed I am with Boldly Bare or Pillow Talk lip liners. I love those just for like Supernatural. Boldly Bare is by Matte. Pillow Talk is by Charlotte Tilbury, as everybody knows. But also I really love Chicory is like this beautiful like burnt orange kind of color by
What is
Mac.
Chicory? Chicory by
Pardon
Mac?
me?
Chicory by Mac?
Yeah.
I
And it's one of my
never heard
favorites it's one of my favorites specifically for the bride who's wearing red but doesn't want a red lip, because that happens a lot, right? Like you get these girls that are like, I'm wearing red, it's already feeling like too much red, it's not really my
Yeah.
vibe. Chicory is really beautiful because it's almost like this kind of nude burnt orange kind of color, so it goes really well with like reds, but it's not red. So I don't know, if I was gonna name drop a color, I might be like, hey, check out some Chicory or some Boldly Bare.
You totally got me addicted to these ones. I remember you were starting to wear them for a little while, and I went out. I'm like,
Yes.
these are the best liquid lip colors I have ever come across. Like, they're hydrating,
Yes.
they're not drying, they don't get chalky. They're amazing, amazing, amazing. I don't have them in my kit, but they're my personal stash, and that and
Love.
lashes, good to go.
There you
100%.
go.
So, like, I did have this other list of questions here, and I'm like, are these too personal? Because this is written
No,
so
you
long
can ask
ago.
anything you want.
That was my
Well,
other
the
thing,
thing
is
is,
like, I wanted to go back and recreate this, but we did this like so last minute, and I didn't get a chance to like re-come up with questions because this is like from your birthday. How many months ago was this? Like, has it been almost a year?
February.
Yeah.
February.
So like it's been a year. It's been
No,
over a year.
I get why. I mean, people always are curious about my personal life because I like allude to it, and I'm pretty like real about like stuff that's going on, and I complain about boys a lot in my social media. So I know, like, I get why you'd have questions, and you can literally ask anything you want. I'm like an open book, so it doesn't.
Okay. I wanted to make sure first because, like, one, it's been so much time that I didn't even know if they were relevant anymore. And, like, anything in any life experiences are always relevant. And two, I just wanted to make sure that you were comfortable with it rather than me just, like, calling you out on them. But
Yeah,
you haven't
no,
mentioned
I'm
anything in a
good.
long time either. I remember for a little while you were going off on for a little while, and I was sending my best friend,
Yes.
like, all of these posts.
Yeah. So what happened was a while back, I had a breakup that was like of epic proportions. Like it's one of those things where, like, if somebody was to talk about their breakup like it was bad, I'd be like, just wait till you hear my story. And it's not that it's ever a competition. Everybody has their own threshold of what they can handle. But this was like insane. So I had the really quick version of it is that I was in a relationship, a long distance relationship with someone for 2 years who lived in Chicago. And he and I were like head over heels in love with each other. And we were trying to have a family. We'd actually gotten pregnant when we were first together and we lost the baby. And that's why I have this tattoo on my hand that says Grace, because that's what we were going to name her. We both have this matching.
Oh.
And yeah, and so then we were going to try again. And so I got pregnant. And anyways, it ended up being that he was supposed to come for our first ultrasound. So we found out I was pregnant. 2 days later, he had to go back to Chicago. And then we found out he was going to come for my first ultrasound at 12. We were almost at 12 weeks. And the night before the ultrasound and the night before he was supposed to come here, I lost the baby. And so he ended up not coming. And I was like, why aren't you on the plane? And he was like, oh, well, we don't have the appointment now. So why would I come? And I was like, because I'm brokenhearted and by myself and I've just lost a baby. My family's not here. Like, I don't know. Anyways, he ended up not coming and then breaking up with me that day. And then 6 months later, I found out that he had been living with another woman the entire time we'd been together.
Oh my God.
Who actually knew about me, knew about the pregnancies, and was like, for some reason, okay with it. So even though I had all the red flags about him, even though I had all the alarm bells going off in my head, she was telling me, no, we're only friends. So I was like being duped basically by two people. And so I basically went through, when you started seeing me posting like all this hating my ex stuff, it's because I had found out that he'd been living with her the whole time. And I was like, screw all this. Like, what the hell? Like, it was so much to take. And it was like literally the biggest heartbreak ever, because even after he left me the way he did, I was still hoping we'd get back together. But I didn't know that I didn't know he was living with someone else. It was wild. And so I learned so many things, like so many things from that experience. And I was like, let me help the ladies. Like, let me just help people avoid like any kind of situation like this, or avoid crying over a boy who doesn't deserve it, or avoid constantly ignoring the red flags, even when you know. Like, I had moments in that relationship that I would tell my girlfriends, like, I have a feeling he's living with his ex. And my girlfriends would be like, Jayna, that's like that would be the world's craziest lie. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, he only ever FaceTimes me when he's walking his dog or when he's at the gym. You know, there was all these things, but she's saying they're only friends. So why would
Oh,
I?
that's so messed up. Like literally, like you're getting lied to from both points, and you must have thought you were going crazy.
Well, and also, like, if anyone was going to tell me the truth, wouldn't it be like her, because she'd be
Yeah,
like, get the hell out of
usually.
here, you know what I mean? Yeah. So anyways, I was like, I learned so much about like not ignoring my own intuition, not standing up for myself at the beginning of the relationship when things seemed, like I said, like ignoring red flags is like, it's not a good game to play, you know, like it never ends up well. So there was just so much. And so I started, like, one of my ways of coping with going through that was I just made jokes about it. Like, I was like, I'm gonna make so much fun of this goofball. And so I was inventing memes all the time and inventing like jokes about him, and I was writing like just crazy stuff. It's all still in my highlights and under
So
quotes. I've
this
got like
was
all
just
the,
like a year and a half ago then, right? Like under 2 years kind of thing?
oh yeah. Like, I found out about her at New Year's.
Fuck, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, last year. Yeah, so I found out. Yeah, exactly. So it was like, and he was, yeah, anyway. So the whole thing was just wild and crazy. And I learned so much from it, on top of like what I'd already learned from like losing the babies and all the, and plus I'd been married before that, which was, I've had literally the worst luck in love of anybody that I know. And so the only thing that can come from that is a lot of learning. And so I've learned a lot about what to ask for yourself, and what to expect for yourself, and what to put up with and what not to put up with, and all that kind of stuff. And as you know, I have this history of wanting to be a relationship therapist. So I'm just like, if I can use this to teach other people, then it becomes worth it. All the pain becomes worth it.
You totally can, because that was when I originally had started following you, and I'm just like, who is this girl? She's freaking hilarious, and like everything that you were saying was so real. And I had one of my best friends is just not at the timeline that she had imagined for herself right now. So I would be sending her like all of your posts all the time, and I'm like, that's okay, it's totally okay, it's totally fine. So
You know what?
keep it up.
It was funny because there was a time when like I was over like complaining about him, like I had done enough healing, but everywhere that I would go, people were like, I'm living for your ex post. So I was like, shit, I gotta keep posting this. So I kept posting stuff and just inventing. It became like my shtick. Like, hating your ex is just like my shtick now. You know what I mean? Like, or like now people just see me as the man hater just because of like how I post. But it's a lot more because I know that it's relatable. I know that there are women out there, or men, suffering, you know, in relationships and with disappointment and that sort of thing. So I'm just like here to be a voice, because there's so many people on social media like touting their relationship like it's the best thing ever, and like, you know, all these perfect lives. I'm like, it's not always perfect. Sometimes we're browsing the internet because we're heartbroken and we're trying to find a distraction, you know. So I'm just trying to be there for those ladies, the
I don't think
insecure, broken, heartbroken ladies.
I don't think you're a man hater. I think you're just a loser hater. Like,
That's true.
literally,
I
that's
love
all
a
it
good
is.
man. I love a good man, but yeah, fuck boys, losers, they can hit the road. I'm gonna call you out.
So, like, you started dating, you started going on dates, you had some crappy dates. Did you start seeing red flags to kind of start weeding out the losers from the get go, or were you still getting into all of these little Tinder traps?
Yeah, so I started, like, I can genuinely tell you, like, I mastered the game of Tinder. Like, if Tinder was a game, I would have the gold medal, because what I did was I had decided that the love of my life was going to be in LA. So I
What?
paid, yeah. So I paid for a premium Tinder account so that I could place my account in LA, like as if I was in LA, even though I was in Vancouver. So what I would do is I would talk to guys and be like, oh, I was just there. I don't know why it's still showing up in your, or, oh, I'm about to go there. And so it was great because I couldn't just hook up with anybody. You can't just make out with anybody. You can't just get all sucky face because you're in a different city. So you have to just talk. And so it was really great. I called it pre-screening. So I
That's
was basically
brilliant.
pre-screening people. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll be in LA next month or whatever. So what I would do is I would talk to a bunch of people, and then in the talking, you'd be like, oh yeah, no, this is not good. And eventually you whittle it down to like maybe 2 to like say 6 guys that you're like, okay, I think I'd really want to meet these people and just see if there was like some sort of chemistry. So then I would fly my own ass out to LA
To go on
and
these dates?
I would book, I always have this same spot that I stay in Venice Beach, my little beach house. And I would schedule dates. Like one day I think I did 4 dates in one day, just like meeting people. And I had a different theory about dating, which was I'm going to meet all the people and I'm going to wait and sit back to see who is the most inspired to chase after me. Like, because a man needs to be the one that's like that one. And when he's like that one and he chases after you, that's when you know, like, it's most likely going to be a thing, you know? So I was like, I'll just meet all the guys and I'll see who's like that one. So this Tinder experience, oh my gosh, I ended up meeting and dating like celebrities, professional athletes. Like, I was meeting crazy people and I found them on Tinder. And and so that's how I end up with like all these crazy like stories and theories about dating and theories about, you know, sex and relationships and all these sorts of things, because like there were people that like for example, there was a very, very, very famous professional football player that was hitting me up and really wanted to take me out on a date. And I was like, I don't know, Ricky. I'm like, Ricky, I don't know, man. Like, this guy, like, I've Googled him. He's got a horrible reputation for being, you know, kind of like a jerk and whatever. And she was like, Jayna, you have to go on this date for the story. And so there was a lot of dates I went on just for the story. Maybe one day I'll have a podcast or I'll write a book, Chicken Soup for the Makeup Artist Soul, or I don't freaking know. But at some point, this shit's going to come in handy. And so that's what I was like doing it for. I was like, it's all for the story.
A chicken soup for the makeup artist soul. I love that. I can totally see you doing something like that.
Something.
Do people still know what chicken soup is? Like the chicken soup series? Do you think that's
I
still
don't know,
a thing?
but I grew up with them always coming out like every 2 days there was a new one.
I used to cry. They're so good. Some of them were
They were good
so
because they were like
good.
little short stories and you didn't have to get too involved.
So is there anything that somebody can do now to kind of like weed out the weeds before they go on the first date and before they get dolled up and they get out there and they're like, I really just
Yes.
wasted my makeup?
First of all, if you're online dating, like for sure, don't ever meet with someone if you haven't at least talked on the phone yet. Like you need to have at least a few phone conversations because it's so different than messaging, and you need to know if you have that good banter. You need to know even if you like their voice. Like I made that mistake. I went on a date with a guy and as soon as I met him, his accent just like drove me up the wall. I was like, I don't even want to be here for 5 more minutes. Like I just didn't like the sound of his voice. But like you have to have a phone conversation first. And one of the parts of the phone conversation needs to be what somebody's looking for, because it's of utmost importance that you're both looking for the same thing before you waste a ton of time trying to get to know someone. Because even if like the way I explain it is like, let's say for example, you know, everyone says like a man wants a snack. You're looking like a snack. You're a snack. Okay, so a guy wants a snack. What's a snack? It's quick. It's easy. It's, you know, it's disposable. Like it's just quick, right? But some of us women are walking around here as full 7-course meals. Like we have a lot to offer. And when a man is looking for a snack and you're a 7-course meal, it doesn't matter that you are all these things, that you represent all this stuff, that you're so smart and you're so successful and you have so much to offer. It's way more than he has the appetite for. So you need to know what somebody's actually looking for, or you'll just waste your time. And the last thing you ever want to do is try and convince a man that he should be in a relationship, because it's never going to end well.
So ask all the right questions and make sure you ask the right questions.
Yeah, but mainly just like find out what somebody is looking for. Like, are they really just wanting to hook up? Because a lot of women meet a guy who says, I'm just looking to hook up. And they're like, I'll change his mind. No, the fuck you won't. Like, you will not. You won't change his mind. Like, he is not ready. He wants to hook up, and it doesn't matter if you're hot. It doesn't matter if you're successful. It doesn't matter whatever you've got going for you. If he's not ready for a long-term relationship, he's going to pass on you eventually.
I love that analogy, like a snack versus a 7-course meal. And he's like, I have the appetite. Not having it.
It doesn't matter, yeah?
So
because if you just
good.
ate, let's say, for example, you just got out of a relationship. If you just ate, you're still full. You're going to walk past a buffet and be like, I can't right now. I don't have the appetite for that.
I love that. And it also takes the perspective off of like hating on yourself. Because I feel like a lot of women that just think it's all them. And I'm like, it's not the case, right?
That's exactly it. And that's what I always try and tell people when they're like, why doesn't this person? It has nothing to do with you. at all, and everything to do with where they are in their life. Finding your perfect person isn't just about finding your perfect person. It's they have to like you have to like them, and it has to be the right timing for both of you. So the timing element matters so much, and people take it so personal when someone's not ready for whatever they represent. Because if a guy's in party mode, let's say, for example, I run into this problem a lot because a lot of guys meet me and it's like, I'm the girl that like you should want to marry, that you should want to have kids with, that you should, like, your brain logically says, this is an end game girl. Like, this is like the end of the game girl. So are you ready for that right now? Because maybe you just want to be at the club every weekend, you know, with random girls. So I'm not the girl you're looking for if that's what you're avoiding. You know what I mean? So it can actually be a compliment if someone's not ready for you, if you think about it.
It's a good way of looking at it. I like that. Okay, I
Yeah.
completely detoured you off of our makeup chat. So I'm going to take you back and then I'm going to send everybody to your page because they need to get more of you because you're incredible.
You're so sweet.
So the one thing I definitely want to ask you about is the big dilemma is always about having one Instagram account where you have personal and business so that everyone kind of sees all of you, or splitting it up into having a personal one and then your where you can be all goofy and whatever, and then you have your business one that's like just your work. So you recently split it into two. So like what do you find? Like do you feel like that's worked for you? Do you feel like you're using one more than the other? Has it been beneficial or has it backfired? Like what's the word back
Well,
something?
okay. This is a very good question. So when I started doing makeup and putting it on Instagram, the feedback that I got was whenever I put up a before and after, I would get a great response. And whenever I put up a picture of myself, nobody gave a crap. And I was like, oh, okay, well, nobody really cares about me. They're just here for the makeup. So I stopped posting myself pretty much completely because that was just the initial, reaction that I got. Then what happens is your business builds, your following builds, and eventually, if you have a big enough following, people come to your page and they're like, who's the person who's responsible for all this cool work? So then I think that people start to get more of an interest in who are you when they've fallen in love with your work, or they see how big of a following is, like, who's this person behind this following? So the interest of your viewers changes, of your audience changes a little bit. Now, when I came out with my own Instagram, it was because I take all these cool pictures and I go on all these cool trips, and I'm like, I don't want to bombard the people who love my makeup with all this other stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes. And I don't know if it was a place of insecurity or something, but I was like, there's no way, people who are there for makeup are going to want to see me, with a hula hoop in Las Vegas. But what I realized was that statistically speaking, when I went into my professional Instagram and I looked at the posts that got the most likes, it was the pictures of me. I would post the before and after, and I was like, okay, I'd get like a good 300. But if I post a bomb picture of me, it would get like 1,000 likes. I'm like, wait a second, maybe people aren't so opposed to me. And then I realized that what was happening was I get really, really, really good feedback on my stories. And my stories is where I'm just me, right?
Yeah.
And I was getting all these new viewers to my Instagram page, but they weren't following. It wasn't translating into following. So I'm like, why are, 10,000 people a week looking at my Instagram, but they're not translating into follows? But the people who watch me in my stories are very loyal and dedicated. Like, I get the same amount of followers all the time. And I was like, oh, it's because when they're looking at my page, they're only seeing work and they have no reason to engage. They have no reason to attach themselves to this page. So I was like, you know what? I'm like, this is this question you're asking is something that I'm constantly, editing, because I just made this personal account a while ago. And I do like it as a place to post things that are just super goofy, or like it's just me being artistic or whatever. But your Instagram page has to have something that people are connecting with, and they're going to connect with you as an artist. And so I found that if I make my page look a little bit more like my story, which is what I get the best feedback on, then maybe when they land on my page, they'll have more of a reason to want to stay for a while. So I'm not sure that I'm like amped about a personal page that much anymore. I'm trying to kind of make my grid a little bit more personal, so that when you land on it, you know what you're getting involved in when you follow me.
So you're getting people to connect and relate with you as soon as they land on your page, and that's kind of what's been working for you so far.
Yeah, I think that like it was like oh, nobody wants to see me, like you said, like, nobody wants to see me, they want to see my work, because that's how it started, like in the very beginning. And then you have to realize like no, like if you know have enough to offer, and if you're like a dynamic personality or whatever, or you're wearing interesting outfits, or you're teaching interesting things, people really do want to feel like they're taking something from your page, they're learning something, whether it's like a new way of looking at themselves or a new technique, but they want to get something from following you. They don't just want to just like, they want to be inspired in some way.
You got to give them a reason to stay.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, they scroll through, they see the pictures, and if that's all you have to offer, they're like, Instagram's full of pictures, I can see pictures anywhere. But
And
if there's something else, then
so many people are doing the exact same thing, but it's just a matter of like how you're doing it and how you're doing it differently. And not everybody wants the same thing from the same person, right? Everyone relates to different people.
exactly.
Okay. I'm going to let you go. It was so good chatting with you. But tell our listeners where they can find you, and I'll definitely link all of your information in the show notes below as well.
Sure, yeah. On Instagram, I'm Jayna Marie Makeup, Jayna, Jayna Marie Makeup. And yeah, I think that's where you find me, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But definitely you have to go follow her. She's hilarious. You will not be bored. Like, she's awesome. So thank you so much for doing this. I'm so glad I had the chance to talk to you.
Thank you, love. I really appreciate you asking me. And good luck with your podcast, darling. This is also exciting.
Thank you. Mwah. Have a great evening.
Bye.